quality of life update's just kind of gone unnoticed. Well, at least I think so. I almost didn't even notice it myself. At 6 AM on the Monday morning before Gigantamax Lapras weekend, round 2, if you go to the events page and scroll right down below a lot of your other stuff, we have the Dynamax Lapras Max Battle Day lead up timed research. And how is this a quality of life update, you might ask? Well, previously this timed research didn't drop until like 10 AM. If you're proactive like myself, by 10 AM in the morning, I've already collected all of my particles that I can for the day, therefore rendering this research useless until my daily limit refreshes the very day after. If for this research we're required to collect 500 max particles, win a max battle, win 3, catch 5 max Pokemon, level up a max move 3 times, unlock a max move, power up Passimian 5 times, and power up a Pokemon 10 times. And because I'm still holding on to a bunch of particles from yesterday, I have 1600 particles to use today. I still have my 800 to collect, so I'm good there. But at the same time, we also have Dynamax Wailmer for the first time to encounter in Pokemon Go. Dynamax Wailmer is a T2 battle, so that means every time you beat one it's going to cost you 400 max particles. Also, because it's a T2 battle, it's not going to be the most difficult battle in the world, but what it will be is probably just difficult enough to take a little bit of time. It even requires my Toxtricity to go Super Saiyan. So that's alright. We have a new Maxmon. I've got 1600 particles from yesterday, another 800 to collect today, so I can complete 5 of these without spending any money, which is really great for me right now, being honest. So shiny check on our very first Wailmer, not a shiny, in CP799, which is... Ooh, let's see if we can go find 4 more. Scratch on this Rillaboom's the best move that it's going to have for powering the max meter. Isn't exactly super effective to Wailmer though. Not that it's going to matter too much. But I was just thinking about the encounter that they've given for us in this research. As part of the timed research, once you collect 500 max particles, you'll earn an encounter with Dynamax Passimian. Oh wow, that's still one shot with one single max move. Well, I might as well say what I was going to say later in this video. Wailmer's not really going to do you any favours as a tank against Lapras. In my opinion, only good for a shiny hunt, which this one isn't. Which also leads me on to another point. Given as unuseful as Wailmer is, or Wailord is, why does it cost 400 max particles? Such an expensive mon to battle with a lack of utility. It doesn't add up. The Ivy's on this one's almost exactly the same as the other one. Okay, well I need to walk this way just a little bit so I can collect the particles from that power spot, come back again and grab the particles from this power spot, and after collecting that 120, I have now earned my encounter with Dynamax Passimian, which can be shiny, but it isn't. So, back to the question which I'm sure I asked right at the beginning of the clip, why Dynamax Passimian? Well, simply, Lapras is a water and an ice type Pokemon, which is going to make it weak to grass, electric and fighting type attacks. And Passimian, of course, being a fighting type, is going to be super effective, but just because the game is awarding it to you is in no way an indication as to how good it's actually going to be against Gigantamax Lapras. So let's go and find another whale and talk about the best counters that we do have available right now. Found another Wailmer. So I'm sure at this point a lot of us are already going to know very well what we're doing in Gigantamax battles, but in case you don't, or in case you've been taking care of other priorities in life for the last 6 or 7 months, the best or most successful way that we've found to build our teams to be successful in Gigantamax battles is to have 2 Pokemon to serve as your tanks during the max meta build-up phase, and 1 Pokemon that's going to serve as your attacker during the max phase. And no shiny, but 815 is getting a bit better. At least this one won't be giving us the middle finger. Well, whatever. And I'd say probably the highest priority at all costs is to do whatever we can to build up that max meta as fast as possible, again while preserving that attacking Pokemon so that we can use it when we need it most. The tanking or the max meta build up phase and how we deal with that within our teams is really going to be the deciding factor as to whether we're going to be successful or not. Now, this being the second time around for Gigantamax Lapras, we now have access to a whole array of different Pokemon that we can use in max battles to be able to help us take these down. Most notable in the form of attackers is going to be Gigantamax Rillaboom, which is probably going to be your number 1 attacker. Again, best to use only during the attacking phase. If it does come to a point where it ends up being the last Pokemon on your team and you need to use it during the build-up phase, hopefully Lapras isn't going to be doing any ice attacks because super weak. Using Gigantamax Rillaboom, you're going to need the fast move Scratch. Only if this is a Gigantamax. If you don't have a Gigantamax and you need to use the Dynamax version, it needs to have a grass type fast move. Otherwise, during the max phase, its max move will change to the same typing as Rillaboom's fast move. So just keep that in mind. Next best attacker that you'll want to use will be the fighting type that I actually do recommend, Gigantamax Machamp. doesn't just hit harder than Passimian because it's a Gigantamax Pokemon. If you don't have Machamp in its Gigantamax form, Dynamax Machamp will hit nowhere near as hard, but still better than Passimian. And then lastly, from the electric type attackers, we have Gigantamax Toxtricity. Use it with the fast move Spark. We do also have other electric types, Zapdos, Raikou, grass types, Venusaur, Gigantamax and Dynamax, and fighting types, Urshifu, but I'll make a bet that you haven't powered one of those up. Yeah, I know some of you have, but most of you haven't. But from what we have available right now, these that we've just specifically spoken about are going to be the best that we have in the game. So, got to find another Wailmer. Ooh, okay, they're all popping up on the nearby now. And then let's talk about our options for tanks. So I'll be very frank with you all. The thing that I'm looking forward to the most about going into these Gigantamax Lapras battles this weekend is the new options that we have for tanks. The one in particular, and most of all, I'll even use them now just because it makes me happy. Zamazenta, which in itself doesn't do much damage to water-type Pokemon quite clearly. But did you just see that it's got a shield there already on it? I didn't put that there. Zamazenta is one of a very few Pokemon, no shiny, but Zamazenta literally has a shield on its face. And as a fighting and a steel type, it's going to provide some resistances to Skull Bash, which is a normal type move. Lapras also has access to ice type moves. And even though it has zero resistance to water type moves, Zama has one of the higher defense stats in game because of the shield on its face. So I'm genuinely really excited to see just how this one performs. And then of course I'm going to bring it up because we didn't have this the last time Lapras was out as well. Dynamax Blissey. Dynamax Blissey came into the game around the middle of March this year, and I've been singing its praises ever since because while its defense stat at 169 compared to 292 on Zamazenta is very low, it makes up for it in its HP stat, which is insanely high compared to anything else in the game. So it's proven itself super useful time and time again against almost every Gigantamax and Dynamax boss that we've ever had since, for taking multiple hits and then proving its utility even more by becoming the #1 healer in the game for Gigantamax and Dynamax battles. So again, the other one that I'm super excited at giving a go when Lapras comes out this weekend. And my aim is, if you haven't seen any of my tank test videos so far, maybe go and check them out, because I'm going to do the same thing for Blissey versus Zamazenta, just to see out of the two which one is going to be performing better than the other. Will Zamazenta last longer because it comes in with a built-in shield? Will Blissey be better because that healing factor is just too good to ignore? So that being said, last thing to note, I have a couple of tasks left to do, a few of them which I'm going to do in my own time, but in terms of leveling up and unlocking a max move, I do believe that that's also going to work for Zacian and Zamazenta. This one here is my Shundo, which I haven't unlocked Guard or Spirit. I won't bother with Spirit for now because I use Blissey for that, but the only real bonus to doing it on these particular Pokemon is that it costs Stardust and Candy and not Max Particles. So I've just unlocked Max Guard and we've now completed the Unlock a Max Move task. Go to Zamazenta, tap on max moves, and I want to power up Behemoth Bash. Quite expensive in terms of Stardust, but Stardust we can gain without limits. I'll also power it up once on the shiny, level up a max move 3 times, and that's all of my research done, except for power up Passimian and power up something else 10 times. I'm going to see if I can try and find a low level Passimian in the wild somewhere before I do that, because I don't think it's worth the dust, but Zacian and Zamazenta definitely are. So that's all we're going to have time for today. Gigantamax Lapras is just around the corner, and even though it's the second time around, with what we have access to now in the game, even Gigantamax Rillaboom as an attacker, totally new, I'm really excited to see how much easier these might be compared to the last time, or the first time that we took them on, I think was December last year. So don't forget, we're going to be doing a video for it as always. In that same video on Saturday, I'll be including a tank test at the end so we can see which one's going to be better out of the Blissey versus the Zamazenta. If there are any other tanks you'd like me to consider in that tank test, do let me know down in the comments. I'll respond to you there whether I think it's worth it or not. Maybe I would provide reference to a video that I've done previously comparing Blissey to that particular Pokemon. But other than that, if you're enjoying the content, don't forget, like, subscribe, feel free to jump in the Discord, check out our channel membership options if you want to get a little bit more involved. Thank you for your time as always, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.